So, we've got a number 1 deluxe meal. Is there anything else I can get you?
Yeah, I'd also like a good night's sleep. Maybe something like the I didn't struggle all night with my uncomfortable CPAP mask.
Sir, I think what you're looking for is Inspire. It's an implant that works inside your body to treat sleep apnea without a CPAP.
Come on!
He sounds hangry. Inspire, sleep apnea innovation. Inspire is not for everyone. Talk to your doctor to see if it's right for you and review important safety information at inspiresleep.com.
And good evening. We are doing it live right here, weeknights at our new time of the 5 o'clock hour here in Los Angeles. Mottek On Money, 5 nights a week for you, live on the air here in 790 KBC, streaming live online worldwide at kbc.com, and the on-demand Mottek On Money podcast for you at kbc.com, Apple, iTunes, all your favorite podcast platforms, and on the socials too at Frank Mottek on Twitter and Instagram. Well, stocks did end the day higher. The Dow continues to wow. The Dow up for the 8th session in a row. Earnings news helped to pump up the market today. Traders also hoping that cooling inflation can help the Fed soon end interest rate hikes. We'll see what happens next week when the Fed has its next big policy-setting meeting. Will they tick higher by another 0.25 percentage points, or will they throttle back? Will we have to play Toto hold the line again next week? Let's wait and see. The Dow coming in for a closing gain of 109 points today. The S&P 500 up 11. The NASDAQ moved up 4 points. Second quarter earnings news beating expectations so far, though profits overall likely to fall for a third quarter. According to many analysts, investors extended the rally today and hope for an end to the aggressive interest rate hikes by the Fed this year and a few signs of a recession on the horizon. The recession debate continues. We'll be talking about that with our first guest, Carol Roth, here coming up in just a few moments. On the earnings front, the big dog on Wall Street, Goldman Sachs stock finishing nearly 1% higher today, even though the bank reported second quarter earnings that fell short of Wall Street analyst expectations, in fact, lowered expectations. Interactive Brokers Group sliding nearly 5% after that online banking company reported second quarter results that fell short of analyst estimates. United Community Banks down more than 1% after that bank reported second quarter results that came up short of analysts' expectations. Competition to attract new customers driving up costs, they say. AT&T, which recently hit a decades low, has been on the rebound lately. AT&T up 8% today. Verizon up for the ride as well, up 5%. Both saw their stocks up today. AT&T said in a court filing that it would hold off on prior plans to remove lead-sheathed cables running underneath California's Lake Tahoe amid recent reporting on those cables, among other things. After the closing bell, Tesla out with earnings, reporting quarterly margin in line with the Wall Street estimates. It was a far cry from a year earlier before Elon Musk ignited the EV price war to deal with heated competition. Under pressure from increasing competition and an uncertain economy, Tesla has slashed prices several times, China and other markets since last year, and increased discounts and other incentives to reduce inventory. According to Reuters, Tesla margins slip on the price war and Elon Musk warning of turbulent times. We'll take a closer look at that coming up as well. The hot labor summer, meanwhile, continues with the Hollywood writers and actors on strike, impacting not only the studios but the entire L.A. economy at this point. No sign this is going to be resolved anytime soon. I'll talk about that tonight with attorney Jonathan HANDEL, entertainment and technology lawyer, coming up live with us later this hour. Los Angeles County adopting new policies to reduce cash bail requirements in nonviolent cases. New bail schedules to take effect October 1st. I'll be discussing that and the ongoing crime wave here in the Los Angeles area tonight with the Honorable Steve Cooley, the former L.A. County District Attorney. But first, on the markets, the economy, the Fed, AI, crypto, small businesses, the whole works this evening. Let's bring in Carol Roth now, former investment banker, as she puts it, a recovering investment banker, former investment banker, entrepreneur, and author of her new book out now, You Will Own Nothing, Your War with the New Financial World Order and How to Fight Back. Carol Roth, thank you very much for joining us live here this evening in Los Angeles.
Yes, it is great to be back with you.
Thanks very much, Carol. And well, give us your view of things here. We've got 8 winners in a row here for the Dow, and the Fed meeting next week. A lot of moving parts here. Give us your assessment of things here at the moment.
Yeah, for me, it always comes down to pricing and valuation, and obviously that's something that has kind of gone by the wayside over the greater part of the last, 15 or so years with this massive Fed intervention in the market and suppressing of interest rates and printing money. They really have disrupted risk premiums, and that's sort of what I'm looking at right now. Whether you're looking at stocks or you're looking at long duration treasuries, it seems like you're not getting enough of a premium for the risk that you're taking on. I can make a case, for stocks, about tailwinds or headwinds. I'm kind of split in the middle. But looking at where everything's priced right now and looking at the fact that, you can get a treasury, a one-year treasury right now for like 5.35%, the premium that's required to go into a stock, it doesn't seem great enough to take on the risk. I'm looking at more of the risk-adjusted returns, and I still feel like we're in a situation where there's a lot of froth.
On your live with Carol Roth, and congratulations on your new book, Carol. You Will Own Nothing, Your War with the New Financial World Order and How to Fight Back. You cover not only Wall Street, but the Main Street economy. Tell us how you see things play out here in this new financial world order.
Yeah, so obviously, we go through cycles. When you hear new world order, new financial world order, it sounds very conspiratorial. It isn't at all. We go through financial cycles where different countries are sort of at the center of the global financial universe. Here in the U.S., we've been in the pole position for about 80 years. Before us, it was the British. Before the British, it was the Dutch. And there are all kinds of things that lead to those changes, but usually they start from the inside. And we have seen those kinds of things happening in the United States. The fact that our debt to GDP on a public basis is about 125%, when the IMF and other forces say that you sort of start to get unsustainable somewhere in the 70 to 80% range. You have the Treasury and the CBO that says that our financial trajectory isn't sustainable. You see things like the fact the Fed has not done a good job in maintaining the stability of the dollar, either for the domestic economy or on the world stage. That's led to de-dollarization. That's led to the BRICS countries, basically signaling that they want to come up with their own currency, lightening up of reserves. We saw the Biden administration weaponize the dollar, basically when Russia invaded Ukraine and froze access to their reserves. So we're seeing all these things that kind of suggest that there's some chaos going on in that global order, with the U.S. being the sole financial superpower. And the people who are wealthy and well-connected obviously see that. They're students of history, and they want to make sure that they come out on top with whatever comes next. I mean, who wouldn't? If you're powerful and wealthy, you don't want to just hope that it works out for you. So in that process, they are making sure that things happen that set them up in that good position. And in the meantime, the middle and working class are really getting crushed. So when I came across that World Economic Forum prediction, their top 8 predictions for 2030, number 1 with you'll own nothing and you'll be happy, and this prediction of the end of private property when we know that ownership creates wealth, it just really fit in with not only the shifts in this financial world order, but a lot of these forces that we're seeing, whether it's the debasement of the currency or the potential for CBDCs or Wall Street coming to compete with you for a single-family home, or big tech wanting to rent your life back to you as a subscription or a service. It all just kind of came back to the larger theme, which is a movement away from ownership, which is that thing that creates wealth for every American.
All right, so you will own nothing is the bottom line. It's getting tougher to own anything here in Los Angeles, certainly, as far as a place to live is concerned, for example.
No, it's true, and obviously that has been very intentional. That's been an outgrowth of Fed policy that allowed the Wall Street corporations to have cheap and abundant access to capital for a very long time. And when they ran out of places to find yield, what did they do? They turned their attention on the single-family home market. One of the things that I found when I was researching You Will Own Nothing that was staggering to me, Frank, and I don't know if this sort of clicks for you, having been covering the markets for so long. But there was no institutional capital in single-family homes before 2010. This was all an outgrowth of this last, 15 or so years of policy that we've had. Now at the end of 2022, you have 1 in 5 homes that are being bought by corporate purchasers. So, the cost plus also all of the government regulation at the not only federal level but at the state and local level that's hurting supply and the disruption of the labor force, but all these things are working to make home ownership very unaffordable before you even get that shift in Fed rates that obviously then on an indirect basis end up impacting the mortgage rates.
That is a very, very important point, and you're absolutely right about how these corporations have been buying up homes, including here in Southern California, and that certainly has been a factor in what's going on here. So we are watching that very, very closely. I don't know if you saw the headline. This is really something. Treasury Secretary Yellen reportedly ate magic mushrooms during a visit to China. The dollar pulled back recently. A lot going on, and there's also speculation about what happened during her meeting with the Chinese finance people. What's going on with the dollar right now?
I thought you say with Yellen, I would say it kind of seems like she's been on magic mushrooms for a long time.
Could be.
My concern over the dollar is what happens with it over a long trajectory. And we have seen this movement towards accelerated de-dollarization, particularly on the reserve side, that central banks aren't looking to hold treasuries and be able to convert them into dollars in the same way that they have in years past. Interestingly enough, that hasn't really been supplanted by another country's currency at this point. The delta has been kind of plowed into gold, which had a record year in terms of an investment from central banks. So, the concern is that you have these countries that agreed to let the dollar be the world reserve currency. They may not have liked it, but they agreed to go along with it. And as the Fed hasn't held it stable on the international stage, these countries who are net importers of energy and food that are priced in dollars, now it is much more expensive. They need many more dollars in order to be able to get those things, and that becomes an economic and a national security issue for them. So they're looking for ways to get away from the dollar. And as I said, from a reserve standpoint, we've seen quite a shift. From an international trade standpoint, the dollar is still very much supreme, but it is speculated that when the BRICS have their meeting at the end of August, coming up here pretty quickly, that they're going to be announcing another currency that they're going to try to use to trade amongst themselves that may be backed by a basket of commodities and/or that may include gold as well. So we're seeing this movement away, and not to say that the dollar is going to go away, but just the fact that it's not as in demand has significant implications in terms of what happens.
Stacking Benjamins with Joe and his good friend OG not only has great financial insight, it's laid back with humor too.
Dollar cost averaging works because everything else doesn't. Let me put that a different way. But dollar cost averaging works every time. Just keep buying.
60% of the time, it works every time.
People spend a lot of time, OG, worrying about when to buy.
This is really simple. You should invest when you have the money, and you should withdraw the money when you need the money. Boom.
There it is.
I believe they call that a mic drop.
The Stacking Benjamin Show, available on YouTube or wherever you listen.
For a limited time, Sweet Deals is offering qualified listeners the vacation of a lifetime. An all-inclusive 5-day, 4-night stay in a suite for just 2 adults and up to 2 children in Cancun, Mexico for just $299. This opportunity is valued at more than $2,600. That's right, a $2,600 vacation for $299, and it's all-inclusive, meaning all your food and drinks are included. Attendance is required at a presentation for Vacation Club ownership, but who cares? There's no purchase necessary. And you have a 30-day money-back guarantee if you change your mind. Do not miss this exclusive luxury vacation offer from SweetDeals.com. $299 for 4 nights at an all-inclusive resort in beautiful Cancun, Mexico. Go to SweetDeals.com right now and snag this once-in-a-lifetime offer. That's SweetDeals.com.
Here in the United States, particularly since the government doesn't seem to be culling back their spending anymore, and they're one of the biggest recipients of benefits when you have all these countries that are demanding dollars and buying treasuries, because then they're able to finance the expansion at very low costs. And obviously that has shifted as the Fed has raised interest rates, but I think we're going to see a long-term shift as this kind of financial order continues to shift. So this is all just kind of tied into the greater thesis of things will probably change in our lives in a way that we're not used to, because we're so used to being in that pole position in the global financial universe, and that we've lived through this crazy period of prosperity. And, if we don't get our act together and make sure that we preserve that as a country, things are going to shift meaningfully. But either way, you can't depend on that happening. You have to plan for the chaos. I kind of likened it to your house burning down. You don't come up with the escape plan or buy insurance when your house is on fire. You do that ahead of time so you don't have to worry about it and you don't panic in that moment. And that's why people really need to think, whether it's a central bank digital currency that's introduced or the dollar, loses reserve status. We have, longer term inflation, even if it's tamed, right now, but it kind of comes back again, or this sort of stagflationary environment. You don't want to be caught in that scenario. So you need to be planning, and you really also need to be thinking about what these elite are doing rather than what they're saying, because they may say you'll own nothing, but they're not saying we'll own nothing.
Right.
So pay attention to the kind of things that they're investing in and do what you can to follow along with that.
Now, it had been a while since we chatted behind live microphones here, Carol Roth. So let me ask you, no conversation is complete nowadays, certainly at a business conference or even a business interview. We got to bring up AI. Want to get your thoughts about how this is going to be impacting things.
Yeah, no, it's certainly very scary, and part of the thesis of you will own nothing is big tech really becoming this de facto government. And, because they're providing infrastructure types of scenarios, whether it's the operating system for you to be a digital human and participate in a digital world, or digital town squares, or now you've got AI that is training perhaps on your content and learning from that. You have a lot of rights that are protected under the Bill of Rights. They're natural rights that are protected. But when you get into the digital sphere, they don't have the same level of protection. And so that's very concerning to me. And one of the things I think we really need is a Bill of Digital Rights, not that grants us rights, because I think we have them naturally, but just protects them in the same way that the Bill of Rights protects them, but considering this new sphere of influence. Because if you think of something like the operating system on your phone, right now there are only two companies that cover more than 99% of the world, not just the U.S., the world. So that's not really a bastion of free market capitalism. That's truly infrastructure. So we need to be treating these things in the same way. And, I agree, with some of the issues that are coming out of the actors' strikes and the writers' strikes. You don't want to give up your name and likeness in perpetuity for a one-time payment so that AI can then grab that and basically transfer the wealth creation opportunity from you to the company that owns that technology. That's what the whole you will own nothing thesis is. It's about making the people who are wealthy and well-connected and have the technology and they're on the inside wealthier, while the middle and working class get crushed. And we can't have that happen. We need to preserve the American dream.
Carol, as always, wish we had more time. We'll be looking for you on Fox and the other financial networks, and look forward to speaking with you here more often as well. Carol Roth, former investment banker, entrepreneur, and author. The new book is out now, You Will Own Nothing, Your War with a New Financial World Order and How to Fight Back. Carol Roth, thank you very much for joining us live here this evening.
Always a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thanks very much, Carol. Don't give in to that constant joint pain. Take control. Take back your quality of life today with the help from QC Kinetics. It's Frank Mottek here. QC Kinetics is helping people every day right here in the Los Angeles area and all across the country with their amazing non-surgical treatments that repair and restore damaged joint tissue. They use the latest advances in regenerative medicine, taking your own body's healing agents and concentrating them right in the area where you have that agonizing pain. This incredible non-invasive approach helps you take back control of your body, relieving the pain in your knees, hips, shoulders, or back. No invasive surgery, no harmful drugs or steroids, and no downtime. Summertime needs to be about having fun and making memories, getting out there, golfing, hiking, enjoying the great outdoors. Take control now and start living pain-free again. Call QC Kinetics, locations in Glendale, the city of Orange, Mission Viejo, and now also in Costa Mesa. Call 213-997-PAIN. 213-997-PAIN. Again, that's 213-997-PAIN. Mottek On Money continues here in 790 KBC. Yep, we have a winner. The Dow up 109 points for the 8th day in a row. The Dow has moved higher. We're at 35,061. New highs for the year across the board here for the major stock market averages. The S&P 500 up 11 at 4,566. The NASDAQ up 4 at 14,358. The yield in the 10-year note has eased to 3.75%. The price of gold up 70 cents at $19.8150 an ounce. Oil slipping slightly, down 18 cents at 75 and change. With oil hovering around 75 and change, we see the needle's been moving lately at Southern California gas pumps, with regular hovering around the $5 a gallon mark here in the Los Angeles area. Regular right now averaging $4.98 a gallon. In the LA Long Beach area, $5.33 now. The average price for premium, and diesel now at $5.21 a gallon. After the closing bell today, the earnings parade continued with Tesla results coming in and the comments from the man himself, Elon Musk. Tesla said in a statement today that it was focused on reducing costs and on new product development, and that the challenges of these uncertain times are not over. One day it seems like the world economy is falling apart. Next day it's fine. I don't know what is going on, Elon Musk told analysts on a conference call. He said, we're in what I would call it turbulent times, quoting Elon Musk. Tesla shares, which had been largely flat after hours, down about 3% following Elon Musk's quote. Tesla margins slip on the EV price war, and Musk warns of turbulent times. That's the headline today. After hours, Tesla reported quarterly gross margin in line with Wall Street analysts' expectations, but it was a far cry from a year earlier before Elon Musk ignited the EV price war to deal with increasing competition. Taking a look at the cryptos here now, we see Bitcoin down 107 at 29,870, Ethereum down 10 at 1,889, and Doge at 7 cents. Looks like United Airlines coming in with better than expected earnings after the closing bell. And United shares closed up 1 cent today at $54.80. And on the earnings front, United posting record earnings and forecast strong profits for the bustling summer quarter. Mottek On Money continues here in 790 KBC. The hot labor summer continues in Hollywood, with the writers and actors on strike now, impacting not only the studios but virtually the entire LA economy now, certainly everything connected to the TV and movie business. No sign that this is going to be resolved anytime soon. Interesting sidelight here that the LA City Controller's Office is now investigating the trimming of trees on a stretch of roadway outside Universal Studios in the Valley. The studio's owners, NBC Universal, have denied making conditions for striking actors and writers more difficult in the intense heat, with temperatures reaching nearly 100 this week. Let's bring in attorney Jonathan HANDEL now, entertainment and technology lawyer. Jonathan, it's been a while since we've chatted behind the live microphones. Welcome to Mottek On Money. It's great to have you with us. Give us your assessment of what's happening out there.
Frank, it's great to be with you after quite some time. This is absolutely a hot labor summer. It kicked off with the writer's strike several months ago when we were still under May gray and June gloom. But a fiery speech by Fran Drescher of the Screen Actors Guild, SAG-AFTRA, sent the actors out onto the picket lines as well. Their union is 15 times the size of the Writers Guild. They have flooded the zone. This is in some ways class warfare. This is a fight to make both of these professions sustainable, less precarious, more reasonably compensated. And it's important to say this is not about the wealthy, the actors, for example, whose faces and names everyone knows. This is about the middle class and even working class actors and the middle class and even in some cases working class writers who sometimes struggle to put food on the table and keep a roof over their heads in two of the most expensive cities in the country.
Absolutely well said, and certainly for those removed from the situation here, we see the headlines of celebrities on strike and all that, but obviously a lot of people who are struggling depend on this kind of work here, and now it has completely dried up. And with the writer's strike now, 70 plus days, and of course the actor strike just started last week. How do you see this play out?
Well, I'm afraid I see this taking a long time to reach an end game, reach a resolution. All three sides, if you were, both labor and management, are very angry at each other. Both sides view this as existential. The studio and streamer side of the equation, we should say, and in fairness and with balance, is the following. Filmed entertainment, film and TV, is horrendously challenged. Box office is down 20% compared to the peak at 2019, or the recent numbers anyways, and will never again in inflation-adjusted terms reach those numbers is what many of us predict. Linear television, both broadcast and cable, are year over year dying a death. The audiences are shrinking. The audiences.
Stacking Benjamins with Joe and his good friend OG not only has great financial insight, it's laid back with humor too.
Dollar cost averaging works because everything else doesn't. Let me put that a different way. But dollar cost averaging works every time. Just keep buying.
60% of the time, it works every time.
People spend a lot of time, OG, worrying about when to buy.
This is really simple. You should invest when you have the money, and you should withdraw the money when you need the money. Boom.
There it is.
I believe they call that a mic drop.
The Stacking Benjamin Show, available on YouTube or wherever you listen.
We're all juggling life, a career, and trying to build a little bit of wealth. The Brown Ambition podcast with host Mandy and Tiffany the Budgetnista can help.
HGTV's Paige Turner.
People are wanting to buy a home. Is it a buyer's market? Is it seller's market? Is it neither? It's neither. If you're in a position to buy a home, and if it makes more sense to own than to rent at this time in your life, then buy the house. Just don't buy the house thinking in 6 months you're going to make a $400,000 profit off of it, because that's not there anymore.
Brown Ambition.
Wherever you listen.
Have aged out of the demographic that national advertisers want to reach. The audiences are shrinking to the point that even the reach, the quantity, is not sufficient to interest a national advertiser. And finally, streaming for the legacy companies, the traditional media companies, the Disney, the Universal, and so forth of the world, they realize that to compete with Netflix, they have to build what Netflix built, which is a worldwide scripted television channel. But Netflix did that in an era of easy money, when the investors were willing to pay for growth. They were willing to treat Netflix like a tech company, and money flowed like water. None of that is the case now, and of course the economy is tougher now. So these companies are in a difficult position, to which labor says, you know what, nonetheless, if you're going to spend billions of dollars building platforms for hundreds of millions of people on the backs of our labor and our work product, we need to be fairly compensated, we need secure jobs, and we need not to fear being displaced by AI.
Right, and there's there it is again, AI. Let's talk more about that and all the issues related to AI. Certainly, the writers during all of this, some have made the point that it's basically automated plagiarism when everything is dumped into the system and then spit out again. What about these lawsuits that have been filed against some of these AI companies and this big issue in this labor dispute?
Well, the copyright infringement issues are hard issues, because the reality is that a human author learns from other people's work as well. And the learning that goes on in these machine systems, these so-called generative AI systems that generate new content based on learning from old content, has certain analogies to what has never been considered infringing when people do it. But it's not really an infringement issue in the context of labor. In the context of labor, it's what is the contract, the collective bargaining agreement, going to say? Is it going to say that it's okay for the studios to exert their negotiating power with an individual actor or writer and negotiate what they want? Because they buy the work product of the writer, for example. The studio owns the copyright of the script. So it's not an infringement issue per se in general in this context. It's an issue of how far can those contracts go? How much can the union protect them? And you can see solutions, some potential solutions. Instead of hiring me for 4 days as an actor, hire me for half a day, generate the rest of the performance with AI. But guess what? Pay me for 2.5 days, split the difference. I get something, you get something. But the parties are not at a point where they're reaching any sort of a compromise, and there's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and doubt.
Right, and the use of extras was one provision there, or one report that said that the studios want to be able to use extras without residuals. Anything else that you've picked up in the course of all this?
So the report was that they'd be able to scan them, the background actors, the extras, and then use them indefinitely. The studios have denied that was their proposal, and it does remind us that this is very emotional and that truth is sometimes a casualty of any sort of war, whether the war in Ukraine or a labor dispute here. This is very costly to the LA economy. I was talking earlier in the day with the economist who analyzed the writer's strike 15 years ago, and that impact was $20 million a day. If you adjust for inflation, that's about $30 million a day. He says that there are other factors that probably goose the number up much higher. And these strikes could last well into the fall. We just don't know.
And certainly it is having a ripple effect already, and it will continue as this stretches on. And now trees have become an issue given the heat. As I mentioned at the beginning here, the city controller's office now involved investigating the trimming of some trees in front of Universal. According to the city attorney, the office is investigating the tree trimming that occurred outside Universal Studios, where workers, writers, and actors are exercising the right to picket. The trimmed trees are LA City-managed street trees. And apparently, according to his office, there was no permit issued or indication that the city actually trimmed those trees. Certainly comfort is an issue out there at the moment.
Well, that's right. I mean, it is very hot out there, of course, especially in the valley. And picketing is a protected activity. It is a federally protected activity, and anything that the studio may have done to deliberately interfere with that activity, it does become suspect. And here we see city property involved as well. And from what I saw in the photographs, it doesn't look like the trees will grow back anytime soon in terms of their foliage.
Isn't that something? Yes. It looks like NBC Universal, by the way, according to various reports, denying that it's refusing to create the safe pathways for strikers around the construction work in another part of its studio site after the Writers Union, WGA, and the Actors Union SAG-AFTRA filed a complaint to the National Labor Relations Board about that as well. So tension certainly running high on the picket lines. A very tough situation for everyone involved here in Hollywood at this point. Anything else, Jonathan, that you'd like to mention that might be coming up here? Any more shoes to drop?
Well, it's just hard to tell, and the difficulty is that there don't seem to be external factors that are driving people to say, oh my God, we really better settle it by such and such a date. The writer's strike 15 years ago settled in part because the Oscars were suddenly looming, and ABC television, which broadcast the Oscars, didn't want to lose that night, very important advertising night of the year. The movie studios didn't want to lose it, very important to promotion of moviegoing. I have a fear that if this goes on, that the Oscars may be the driver at the end of these strikes, but the Oscars now, once again, are in March, and they don't loom for many more months. I'm hopeful that I'm wrong and that we can reach an earlier resolution. I'm hopeful that there'll be mediation. We're doing a panel, and it's a free Zoom of mediators, Beverly Hills Bar Association. People can Google for that. That'll be a week from Friday, and trying to get some ideas out there into the ecosystem. But it is a very tough situation.
Jonathan, thank you very much for joining us live here tonight. That is attorney Jonathan Handel, entertainment and technology lawyer. And thanks for mentioning that forum coming up as well. Thank you very much for joining us live here tonight.
Thanks much, Frank.
It is quite jarring to have a car accident and hard to think clearly when you're hit. So my friend, attorney Clark Fielding of Fielding Law, has created something to help you. It's a guide called Be Prepared Before a Motor Vehicle Accident. The guide is one page, fits right there in your glove compartment, gives you everything you need in case you're hurt in an accident. You go to clarkthesharklaw.com, download your free one-page guide, and keep it in your glove box. Put Clark Fielding's number in your phone, too, under the word accident. So all you have to do is hit the number when you need him. Tell your family and friends to do the same. So if you're injured in an accident, call the one we all trust, attorney Clark Fielding. The number is 833-88-SHARK, 833-88-SHARK, 833-88-SHARK. And download the Be Prepared Before a Motor Vehicle Accident guide at clarkthesharklaw.com. Again, that's clarkthesharklaw.com, clarkthesharklaw.com. Mottek On Money continues here in 790 KABC. Crime impacting businesses and everyone, still a big issue here in the Los Angeles area. And now L.A. County's adopted new policies to reduce cash bail requirements in nonviolent cases. New bail schedule set to take effect on October 1st. The presiding L.A. judge said a low-risk arrestee should not be held in jail simply because they cannot post the necessary funds to be released pending arraignment. Instead, she says the protocols focus on an individual arrestee's risk to public and victim safety and the arrestee's likelihood of returning to court. Now, she also said the court is confident that the new approach will increase community safety and reduce failures to appear in court. Joining us live now, the Honorable Steve Cooley, the former Los Angeles County District Attorney. Steve Cooley, thank you very much for taking the call here. Give us your reaction to the new bail policies that were just announced.
The supervising judge of the Superior Court is a very talented, smart, and effective leader of that great organization. However, I disagree with the fact that this will not reduce a crime in any way whatsoever. It will increase the number of bench warrants the judges have to issue because individuals will not have had a bail amount set to assure their future appearance in court. I think that there's been many, many efforts for a long period of time to dramatically change the bail system in California. They were all rejected effectively by the people of the state of California in Prop 25. And I think that everyone, elected officials, judicial officers at all levels, and should really take into account that the people voted on this. They want a cash bail system that's in place. As this system that they recommended also includes some felonies, some quote-unquote non-serious felonies. But I can tell you some of the quote-unquote non-serious felonies are quite serious. The biggest problem is that Los Angeles County lacks adequate, appropriate, state-of-the-art incarceration facilities. And this is a failure of boards of supervisors over several years, if not decades. They just haven't spent the money as they should have for these in terms of capital projects and staffing. And that is going to take its toll when it comes to public safety and the crime rate in the future.
On the air live with the Honorable Steve Cooley, the former Los Angeles County District Attorney, and of course a lot of criticism about what's already been happening out there with people committing crimes and released immediately only to go out and commit crimes sometimes several times a day, a revolving door situation. Will this new policy, you think, only fuel that even more?
Well, this is not the new policy. It's been a failed policy in New Jersey. It's a failed policy in New York. I think that we should sometimes open our eyes here in L.A. County and do a little research and Google the issue and figure out, okay, what happened elsewhere when they did this? Oh, it didn't work out too well. Oh, there was a lot of recidivism. Oh, there was more crime. I think that I hope Los Angeles County does not end up like New Jersey, New York, and some other locations where these sorts of policies are put into place. And one reason we have this, in Los Angeles County, we don't have a DA that fights for the public at large, the law-abiding public, doesn't advocate for public safety. This issue was before the Superior Court judge a month or so ago. The DA wasn't there because we have a DA that doesn't care about incarceration. He cares about decarceration. So I think that Los Angeles County is being let down in many ways, particularly by their current DA, who's a complete failure on many fronts. And I think they've been let down by the Board of Supervisors by them not funding adequate, state-of-the-art, effective incarceration facilities that can provide therapy and rehabilitation in a confined setting.
On the air live with the Honorable Steve Cooley, and regarding the recall effort of George Gascon, the current DA, where does that stand at this point?
Well, volunteers have been working since last September to review the registrar recorder's decision in this case, and they have gathered more than enough evidence for a Superior Court judge to issue a writ of mandate commanding that a recall election be set. There has to be a trial and proof and all that stuff, but the registrar recorder has now admitted that they had hugely bloated voter rolls, including 230,000 people that should not have been on the rolls, and that arbitrarily increased the number of signatures required. And secondly, the registrar recorder and himself and the people he brought in to do this made thousands of errors by invalidating otherwise valid signatures that should have been counted. So I'm going to watch that trial, as the public at large should, and I think we're going to see unfold is that registrar recorder failed in doing an accurate job when they rejected the recall petition initially. And the people to be commended right now are the recall committee, those people that supported it financially, and particularly the volunteers who went down there 4 days a week since last September, evaluating the invalidated signatures. I think that the registrar recorder never expected that. They never expected a challenge. Well, they got one, and now the public at large is going to benefit by proof that their election system, the registrar recorder, failed.
Will there possibly be a recall election before the next general election coming up?
If there's a court decision before September the 7th, yes, then there has to be a standalone recall election. If the decision comes down after September the 7th, which it could, and probably very likely, then the recall election will be held on the primary date of the first Tuesday in March of 2024. So theoretically, Gascon could be a candidate for district attorney on the same day he's recalled as district attorney.
Isn't that something? Well, thanks for sharing that important information with us tonight. That is the Honorable Steve Cooley, the former Los Angeles County District Attorney, live with us here tonight on Mottek On Money on 790 KABC. I'll be back again tomorrow evening in the 5 o'clock hour. We'll go through the whole works. Of course, continue to follow what's happening with this hot labor summer with Hollywood on strike, and the earnings parade continuing tomorrow, and the stock market on a roll. And we'll be starting the morning tomorrow at highs for the year. This is Mottek On Money on 790 KABC.